Akasa Principle, Induction of Trance with Akasa. Step 6. Magical Schooling of the Soul. In the fifth step we learn the outward projection of the elements. In this step we will take things a step further and proceed and learn to master the Akasa Principle in regards to the elements. In the theoretical part of this book it was mentioned that the elements originated in the Akasa Principle and are therefore controlled and maintained in an equilibrium by this principle. A magician who has achieved success with the elements after lengthy, continuous exercising will also be able to control the finest principle, the astral ether. The practice is as follows. Sit down, close your eyes and assume your usual asana posture. Imagine that you are in an infinite space where you are the center. Here in the infinite space, no above, no below, no sideways exists. This infinite space is filled with the finest energy, substance, the universal ether. In itself the ether is colorless, but it appears to our senses as ultraviolet, an almost violet black color. We therefore imagine the etheric substance in this color. Inhale the ether substance through lung breathing and direct it consciously into your blood. Once you have attained a certain level of competence, then practice the conscious lung and pore breathing in exactly the same manner as you did with the vital energy accumulation, but with one difference. Instead of inhaling the vital energy, fill the entire body with ether in the aforementioned color. While practicing this exercise, you have to maintain a feeling of affinity with the entire infinite space. During this exercise you also have to be completely removed from the world, and you must become accustomed to this unusual state. Under no circumstances should you lose consciousness or fall asleep. Should you be overcome by tiredness during this exercise, discontinue it immediately and continue at another time when you are mentally more refreshed. Once you meet with the desired success after having practiced the body pore breathing, then you may continue with the next exercise. As we know by now, the Akasha is the causal world, therefore the sphere of all causes. If a conscious cause such as a wish, a thought, or an imagination is called forth in this sphere with the appropriate dynamic will concentration, with firm belief and complete conviction, it must realize itself through the elements regardless of the plane or sphere upon which such realization is required. This is one of the greatest secrets and a universal key for the magician, the scope of which will become clear to him in the course of his further development. The student has to be constantly aware of his ethical development, which will allow him always to perform good and noble deeds. The next exercise will deal with how to gain absolute power over the elements in all three kingdoms through the Akasa Principle. The practice is as follows. In your usual asana posture, inhale a stream of Akasha through the lungs and the entire body, filling the entire body with it. I should also mention that the Akasha cannot be accumulated like vital energy. While inhaling, you must already imagine that you awaken your power over the four elements. While you are doing this, think that you already possess the ability to control the elements and that the elements will fulfill everything you order them to do and wish them to do regardless of the plane on which the realization of your wish should occur. While you are in this state, you must feel the power you have over the elements with every breath you take. The belief and conviction of your power over the elements must be unshakable. You cannot leave room for even the slightest doubt. Whosoever has so far worked conscientiously through all the exercises of every step will gain absolute power over the elements after prolonged practice. The magician who has attained the magical equilibrium in regards to the elements, who has equilibrated and ennobled his character, and who possesses the best virtues and highest ideals, will soon receive these powers. He will have within himself a feeling of firm belief, complete conviction, and absolute certainty that will exclude all doubt. The student, however, who has not worked conscientiously enough or who has skipped steps, omitted or neglected exercises, will experience certain doubts, and the influence of the element that controls him the most will not permit itself to be controlled. The student should now appreciate why so much value is placed upon conscientiousness and perseverance above all when it comes to the exercises. While on the ascent, no gap should come into being, otherwise the student will remain behind, and it will be very difficult to catch up and often under the most difficult conditions, because the obstacles are considerably greater at this point. The student who is certain that he is in control of the elements will notice that he will easily succeed with the projections of the elements on all planes, whether it be outwardly or inwardly. To him it will appear like child's play. Once the magician has reached this point, he may proceed to transfer his powers over the elements into suitable rituals. The applicable rituals have been discussed in Step 4. In accordance with his own discretion, the magician forms a ritual by means of finger positions or hand motions into which he transfers the power. Due to his magical development, the magician will have enough intuition at his disposal to compose the appropriate ritual for the particular element. He provides the ritual with a word, formula, of his own choice and joins it with a particular sound which corresponds with the element. These rituals are entirely individual and purely personal, therefore it is almost impossible to make a mistake. Rituals which the magician has composed himself for these purposes should never be entrusted to anyone. Another person, when making use of these rituals, could attain the same success in the control of the elements as the magician who composed them, however, it would be at the expense of the magician's energy. If a person who does not possess any magical maturity employs such rituals, such a person will do great harm to himself and also to those for whom the rituals were intended. Therefore, in this instance the magician should be especially careful and select rituals which he can make use of unnoticed even in large crowds, for example, a ritual with a finger position that can be executed in one's pocket. A true magician will consider this warning absolutely warranted. Above all, the magician should endeavor to compose a ritual for the astral sphere with which he sets the effect of one element into motion and at the same time compose a second ritual with which he dissolves the power immediately, again in accordance with his wish. He should employ the same method for the 3 remaining elements, so that he creates through his own might 8 rituals for the astral sphere and 8 rituals for the material or physical production. Through continuous practice and extensive repetition these rituals become automatized. At this point it suffices only to execute the ritual, through which the element immediately becomes effective, depending on the purpose to be achieved. Whenever the magician wishes to dissolve the effect, it suffices to employ the 1-second ritual, which he has composed for dissolution. This method can be perfected to such a degree through practice that it can be executed without any effort on the part of your will and without employing your imagination. As I have already mentioned, the magician can achieve anything he wishes in the astral and material worlds through the effects of the elements. In order to reach this level of maturity he requires patience, perseverance, and diligent practice to immerse himself therein. Even when the student develops more after the completion of the higher steps, he must continue to work on the control of the elements until he becomes a perfect master over them. Should he possess high ideals and strive only to do good and help humankind, then divine providence will bless him and will endow him with unthought of abilities which will help him to attain great success.